I first played ARMS at the Switch reveal event in January, and I was intrigued but not convinced. Now, less than a month to launch, I really think Nintendo is onto something. What's up, everybody? It's Ghost Robo, and today we're talking all about ARMS because a boatload of stuff has dropped. We have the dedicated direct revealing the full roster, all the modes, and even more details. Plus, my good friend Gabe got to play about 3 hours of the game and brought back all sorts of details. And I gotta say, I am incredibly excited. It seems like Nintendo has found a way to dive into a genre and unearth a new IP and a new style of conveying said genre that I think is really something remarkable. And they first did this with Splatoon, and they found a way to innovate in the shooter space with a game that at first blush seemed very odd, right? It seemed very weird, it seemed very kiddie, and it seemed like something that would not pan out across a $60 package. Well, a couple of years later, we're now getting Splatoon 2. It's one of the most anticipated games for Switch, and that first game is such a fun package across single player and multiplayer that Nintendo looks like a bunch of geniuses. And I think that ARMS has sort of followed the exact same pattern, which is crazy. And it tackles obviously a different genre and has some of its own quirks, but I feel like they are embodying the same charm, the same quirkiness, the same fun, and the same reworking of a typical game style to bring us something fresh and something very fun. And ARMS, you know, it's a fighter, right? And at first, people were like, okay, this is not going to be anything that great. It's going to be a Wii Boxing 2.0, right? It's a Switch gimmick game. And, like, that's kind of the impression I got when I first played it. You know, you're just bashing around with the motion controls. There's only a couple characters, one stage, one mode, and it seemed pretty plain. And I wondered, like, how are they going to expand upon this? How are they going to flesh this out, right? How is it going to justify its $60 price tag? And now I think it definitely does. I have played more since then, and my friend Gabe has played a ton, and bringing back impressions of all the modes and all the characters, and most importantly, the fact that the motion controls are really sound, and that it works so well, enough so to convince someone who isn't that interested and would expect to play all fighters with a D-pad. Like, they have tapped into a style of motion control that is spot on enough to appeal to even a hardcore fighting fan. And that's really cool. Then you have the fact that you've got just the wackiest roster, right? Clearly inspiration taken from Nintendo Past, and then Overwatch, I feel, is the most direct comparison. You know, they just found a way to really get, like, so many unique personalities out of just a simple name, out of a simple character design. The new ones, Kid Cobra, Bite and Bark, Twintel, are probably the best yet. I still think that, you know, Master Mummy and Min Min and Helix are awesome. You know, Ribbon Girl, very fun designs. But these new three really kind of highlight and showcase just letting designers go wild and let their imagination kind of run and figure out, like, how can we bring something wholly unique to the table. And while it's not all about in ARMS, like, having the most diverse moveset, I feel like just the style of, like, okay, Kid Cobra is this streamer who wants to be really popular, and he's super fast and can dodge, and his stage has hoverboards, and then Twintel is this French movie star, and she's got this epic ability to slow down incoming punches, and then Bite and Bark is a tag team cop and pup, but they're both robotic, and they operate independently until you activate their super, and then they unify for one, like, blazing rush of punches. Very, very cool stuff, and things that, you know, fall, I think, outside of the expected mold. You know, we've seen Mario over the years, and Zelda, and look, they've delivered insanely awesome iterations. Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Super Mario Sunshine, I expect to be fully fantastic, but it's great to see them just kind of try something totally new. And they've done that with the modes as well. You've got a volleyball and a basketball mode here in a fighter. And it plays into the fact that you do have these arms that shoot out. And it plays into the fact that you can grab guys. So for basketball, you're grabbing and either dunking them or shooting them up for a three-pointer. Volleyball is all about knocking back a ball. Doesn't matter if you reach across the net and it explodes on contact with the ground. And then they have other modes like a 1 vs 100 and a skill shot mode where you're breaking the targets. It almost feels like they found a way to incorporate, like, Splatoon and Smash Bros. And Mario Party into a fighter while still maintaining strategy and depth. There's 8,000 combinations of arms, and you're unlocking them as you go. So you acquire currency through play, and then use that to not purchase specific arms, specific weapons, but to purchase basically a lotto ticket, right? A chance to play a game to get new arms. And you can buy either a small timer, a medium timer, or a large timer in this minigame to hit as many prize boxes as you can and grab new arms. And if you get duplicates, it's okay because that helps power up your pre-existing arsenal. I think it's just very smart, right? You know, sort of the mystery box, the loot aspect of modern 2017 games, Nintendo is incorporating. And that's something you wouldn't have seen a decade ago, or even 5 years ago. You wouldn't have seen Nintendo looking to other popular titles and other popular, you know, styles of design to bring into their fold, and they've done that here. The lobby system looks pretty cool. 10 different switches up to 20 players, and then it kind of just breaks people off into different modes, which is fun. They have 2v2, which looks to be completely chaotic. Gabe said it's absolutely crazy madness, but I think that's sort of like where you're getting more of the fun party, family, friend style of action. And then if you want to be hardcore, they do have ranked, they do have Grand Prix. There is an 11th fighter that waits for you at the end of Grand Prix who looks pretty awesome. I'm super interested to see if they do decide to bring any crossover characters. I think that's something that I was expecting out of this direct, or out of the boss, and I didn't see, right? Like, do they bring in a Little Mac or someone like that from some other Nintendo property to sort of tie this in, or do they really want ARMS to exist on its own? Because Splatoon 2 kind of made a name for itself real quickly, right? Callie and Marie, the Squid Kids, that whole aesthetic found a real fast following from, you know, just fan art and adoration, and now Callie and Marie are kind of like this cult favorites. They've got Amiibo. It's awesome, and they make an appearance in Splatoon 2, which was tacked on to the end of the direct. Very cool single-player trailer. Can't wait for that game. But I feel like ARMS may go that route, right, and keep itself as a whole unique IP that then integrates maybe later into Nintendo's other franchises. So maybe you see an ARMS fighter in the next Smash Brothers. I think that's totally logical to expect. I was surprised they didn't drop Amiibo for this, because I feel like the game and the characters themselves are just ripe for action figure busts, right? I feel like they are the maybe even better than, you know, probably the best in Smash Bros. For Amiibo. And I wonder if we will eventually get some. The game comes out June 16th, so there's still time at E3 for them to drop something like an Amiibo set. But just a very, very cool package, and a very unique one. And in an era when fighters have kind of, you know, some are coming out with a lot of fanfare, like Injustice 2. Some are coming out and kind of, you know, having issues like Street Fighter 5. And some are trying to, you know, remix themselves into relevancy with Ultra Street Fighter 2 on the Switch, bringing in, you know, some new characters and that weird first-person mode. But I feel like ARMS is kind of taking things in an evolutionary direction, and who knows, like, the longevity of this, right? They're trying to keep it very, very long-term focused with the promise of content. They promise free DLC in the form of new fighters, in the form of new stages, in the form of new arms/weapons, and that's great, right? That's what kept Splatoon 1, and hopefully 2 at the forefront of people's minds, was the constant, you know, the Splatfest and the drops of new content, of new gear, of new modes, and that would really, I think, invigorate the player base beyond launch, because I think ARMS is going to sell well because of the thin lineup, because of the typical summer gaming drought. It's positioned really well right after E3. People are going to be super hyped on the Switch, excited for Mario Odyssey, excited for Xenoblade 2, excited for Fire Emblem Warriors and whatever else gets announced. And ARMS then kind of slots in as just like, hey, there's something real cool right now. And it'll be cool to see how ARMS and Splatoon 2 do, because they've kind of attached them to each other in a smart way. There's always been like some piece of Splatoon 2 alongside ARMS, and I think it's great to kind of get in your mind like, okay, remember how much you like Splatoon 2? It took a little bit of a risk, right? You had to kind of try something new out, and maybe something that didn't seem all that exciting at first, but like Splatoon is awesome, and Splatoon 2 is awesome. And hey, we're doing the same thing with the fighting genre and with ARMS. And I think they did a great job in this direct at showing why the game is worth its price tag. Because initially, you know, you have a small roster, you have sort of these motion controls, you have a 1v1 mode, and you're beginning to wonder, like, what is this going to do? Again, let's talk about Injustice 2, bringing in a big story mode, bringing in the multiverse mode. They pack that game full. NetherRealm has done a great job as of late with just, you know, dumping content into their discs. And Nintendo now seems to be doing that with the cartridge of ARMS. You know, you've got 1v1, 2v2, Grand Prix, hoops, volleyball, 1 vs 100, skill shot. You got the whole currency system and unlocking all of that, so basically a loot gear system. You've got online play, obviously, you've got local play, and you have a diverse roster of 10 that seem to be very unique, and the kind of characters that I feel people are going to really get behind. You know, Callie and Marie with Splatoon, or just the Squid Kid in general, but now you have a new stable of Nintendo characters, and how often do we get to say that? To me, that might be the coolest hidden part of ARMS, is that we're adding actual new characters to Nintendo lore and to Nintendo's overall ecosystem. And you got Callie Marie and Squid Kid kind of out of Splatoon, but you're getting 10 here. And not all of them will click, not all of them will stick. But I think we've already seen a lot of love for some of these people. A lot of love for Twintel on the interwebs right now, on Twitter and NeoGaf and all that. But I think this one's shaping to be really good, and I think it's backed up by solid gameplay. Everything I've heard, and from all the footage I've watched from the event, and from Gabe's opportunity to play a whole bunch of it, is showing that this is not only a fleshed out title, not only a creative title, not only a unique take on the genre, but one that has substance behind it, and that's critical. It's critical in the motion controls, it's critical in just the amount of content, it's critical in justifying the $60 purchase. Plus, they do have traditional controls if that's more your style, but it's good to know that the desired way for you to play the motion controls, the focus, the reason the game was built, works out so well. And I've heard and read from other articles, you know, it's running at a rock solid 60, it looks great, it plays great, and that's awesome. So I think ARMS is shaping up to follow in Splatoon's footsteps as a new IP from Nintendo that tackles a new genre, that introduces new characters and a new style of approach for a very traditional game mechanic, right? How do we take the fighter and flip it on its head? How do we take the shooter and flip it on its head? And Nintendo, out of nowhere, seems like the company to do that. So what will they tackle next? I'm already thinking about man, do they try to do a new sports game? Although ARMS kind of in Splatoon kind of sporty in their own way, and they've got the Mario sports titles that have done that. So maybe it's not sports. Is it RPG? You know, Zelda's kind of RPG-ish, but do they try to do something brand new? They do a lot of properties that fall under the RPG umbrella. So maybe it's not that. Action? Could they do something crazy action? You know, we have Mario Odyssey. Will that be a game that just reinvigorates platformers and finds a way with those bigger hub worlds to do something wholly interesting and totally unique? I don't know, but what I do know right now is that ARMS seems totally worth it, and I'm super glad because the Switch needs hits and it needs games, and I am just over the moon with how much fun they've packed in. I love the bright colors. You got the neon yellow Joy-Con. They are totally just going bonkers with this one, and I love it. So let me know what you think of ARMS in the comments down below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. I'll have more on ARMS, more Switch stuff, and obviously all of E3. That's right around the corner, so who knows what all Nintendo will unveil. Maybe something new, maybe another new IP. They seem pretty committed to new IP for Switch, and that is great to see, especially early on. So ARMS is awesome. Cannot wait for those test punches. Hopefully I'll get to play against some of you guys. Until that time, everybody, thanks so much for watching Test Today. Drink so much. I love you, and we will see you all later.